So, good afternoon, everyone. We once again we are recording our study groups. In case you don't want it to show your face or name, you just please remove it. And the three dots is very easy to do that. And we are going to be continuing. We already covered half of the book by Joanna de Angelis. The name of the book is Alert, a psychography by the medium Divaldo Franco. And today we are going to be studying lesson 32 of this book. Okay, let me just prepare everything here. Um, every time that I start sharing, the configuration changes here before me, so I have to leave, to open the chat again, everything, so to be able to see the questions that we will have on the chat. That's why it takes a while. Okay, but I'm ready now. So let's start at lesson 32 at a difficult juncture. If you are limited by paralysis or chained to pain, meditate in the urgent need to reformulate your concepts of life and renew yourself. If you are emotionally handicapped by the loss of a loved one who has been transferred to a spiritual life, reflect about the transitory nature of the corporeal body and improve your inner life, keeping your eyes set on the future. If your deep feelings are hurt by disaffection that you weren't aware existed, consider the opportunity to do an analysis of your behavior and exercise patience, forgiving offenses. If you feel If you fell in the cruel trap of ingratitude of any type, observe your inner state and change your depressing situation, transferring yourself from bitterness to general beneficence. If infirmity crippled you, allow your mind to reflect on the causes of your suffering and drive your thoughts to the path of operative love. If you are suffering financial difficulty or apparent social failure or loneliness, or experiencing the thorns plunged in the pit of your soul by any other moral pain, try to realize that any and all afflictions are the process of gathering which arrives at the tribunal of conscience imposing reparation. So, here in this chapter, Juana de Angelis is going to talk to us about all those times that we are facing difficulties, that we are facing challenges. And she start by listing some of them and suggesting to us a new way of looking at it and as well behaving towards it. So, for instance, starts saying that if we are already suffering pain, that this should be an alert for us to make an assessment, to reevaluate our lives, our behaviors, our postures. Because at this point, we do understand that we are subject to the law of action and reaction. So every time we get a blow from life, it is a result of something that we have sent out to the world. So that is the reason why she's saying you are getting a negative reaction it's time for you to think about the actions you have practiced, because negative reactions are going to be the result of negative actions. And in all cases, in all situations, the second one that she mentions here, and this is something that is very current, unfortunately, at the moment, with the number of people that have been dying due to COVID. Many people have been, more than ever, being facing, um, the loss of a loved one. So she's not disregarding at all the suffering that we are going to endure because of that. But at the same time, she's saying, this is the inevitable. We all are going to go through that, and also our time will come when it's our turn to return. So uh, it would be very important for us, when facing this situation, to start thinking about the transitory nature of life. And I mean, life as we know it here with this corporeal body, to be more open to the idea and to the understanding that we are immortal soul, that we are not going to perish with the death of our physical body, and so many other things that she's mentioning here, in case we are having, financial challenges, health-wise challenges, problems that we may be going through. Everything should not be a motive. All of those things should not be a motive for us to give ourselves to despair, to bitterness, and to lose motivation to continue on the path of righteousness. So, this is mostly what she's saying here. Let us learn from the experience. Let us learn from life. Let us learn that, everything that we do will have a consequence. And let us not despair, because at the end of the day, we are here to improve each time more, and to, as a consequence of our improvement, to achieve happiness. So, comments, questions at this moment. Hi, Sonia, Zoraida, Silene, Ale.
Hi, Sarah.
uh,
Yeah.
Hi,
Anything?
can I
uh,
just make a comment?
sure, please.
Well, I think it is very clear that all the outcome that we have in life, it depends on our behavior. So we cannot really complain. Of course, it is hard when we're going through challenges, but it's just a reflection of whatever we're been doing here.
Yes, absolutely. And it goes along with the question by Orlando, that he says the other side of the coin of suffering is to pray for comfort, but it's also part of our trial. So, how do we compromise it? The thing is, yeah, it is like you're saying, Ale, and we were explaining, it's a consequence of our actions. Uh, but even if, when this is something that we quite often mention, we cannot change our past, and we have to deal with our past, and this is what we are doing now, reaping the consequences of what we have been sown so far. It doesn't mean that we cannot make it better. We can make it better first by, revisiting our way of being, our lifestyle, and seeing what can we do to improve and to prevent, negative things to come to us. And for the things that, are part of our trials, like Orlando mentioned here, that we cannot change because they are consequences of the past, just by understanding the reason why we are going through that, that is not because God has singled out us to, to suffer or something like this, but it's because of what we have done. And knowing that this is going to be temporary, knowing that, we will have so many other opportunities, that life is not going to come to an end, you know at the end of this physical existence. All of that is going to improve tremendously our situation, our way of behaving, and prayers are always going to give us more strength to endure whatever we have to endure.
Yeah.
And so, okay, we cannot change, but we can go with much more emotional, spiritual structure to deal with the problem. We will have more patience. We will be sure that we are not going through that alone, that the spirits will be helping and assist us as much as possible. And we have to remember that sometimes, even when we are talking about reaping the consequences, it's not just, paying debts like, I own 10, I have to give 10 back. It's not exactly that. It's like I failed a lesson, and now I learned a lesson. I may learn the lesson in 2 steps or in 10 steps. So if I learned the lesson in 2 steps, lucky me. I don't have to go through the 10 steps. You see, so that's why it's not uh, is more about learning a lesson than in quantifying things, let's say in a previous incarnation, I was a criminal and I killed 10 people. Now I have to be killed 10 times. No, I mean, if just after one time I'm killed and I say, and I learn my lesson and I say, oh, it's not nice to do that to other people. I will no longer ever do that. I perhaps will not have to go through this, situation again. You see, the example was not that great, but I mean, it's just to try to explain something. Sonia, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, yes. When she mentioned about the parenting social failure and love, lonely, loneliness.
Loneliness. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my question is, for me, while we are changing our values and our behaviors with all those lessons, and sometimes occur like a change of friendship in the people who are close to us for the others, thinking in the same level of our new life. And then maybe in the beginning we can feel alone, but this is a process for our goodness and not exactly make us suffering. Is this a true?
Yeah, absolutely, Sonia. It's a very good thing that you brought, to our attention, because like sometimes we mention here that while we go through our, let's say, spiritual process, our companions, acquaintances, friends may change along the way, because before we had friends that uh, you know we were like in things that now they do not interest us anymore, and even for them, I mean, we are no longer interesting, because before we have certain things in common that we don't have it today. And I mean, and the more we grow, the more we learn, spiritually speaking, at least, me, for myself, I'm more interested in quality than quantity. I don't care if I don't have 100 friends. I mean, I prefer to have a couple, few friends, but people that I can trust. And not only in terms of us, being able of having and engaging in a nice and sometimes deep conversation, but someone I'm going to trust, and it's going to that I'm going to respect, and that is going to respect me. This person doesn't even need to be a spiritual person, but if it is a person, a good person, even if the person is not as spiritual, the person is going to respect your choices, and is still is going to like you for what you are, and not just for a partial you that use it to have the same interest as those person, those people. So but this is normally what happens along the way, and it's let's say, you have a group of friends, and talking about, girls, which is easier at this point, and then you get married very early in life. Immediately, your friends are going to be not fit that much anymore, because they are going to want to go for single parties and things like that, and you no longer can go with them, or you don't feel that you should go with them. And then you have a child, and then there are those that are not even married and don't have a child. And so, little by little, life, it starts drifting us apart. But true friendship, and friendship out of real admiration and respect, those are going to be lasting. And our experience, and I mean, from the most people that we see, is that after a while, the more we grow, the more we mature, the more we become more spiritual, the more we are going to be selecting our friendships as well. But yeah, and like you said, Sonia, at the beginning, you may feel more, lonely, because you will see that people have interest in you for something that you no longer can provide them. And sometimes, this happens even in the family circle, right?
Yes, because when she mentioned imposing reparation, then this is my question. Then, should I try to rescue this friendship in another way, or just be like,
Oh no, because these are two different things, Sonia.
or leave this on? Then
Yeah.
this is, I never know how to behave when I feel in this way.
No. Here is more, when loneliness is the result of how we behave towards them in a negative sense. Okay. So let's say that I'm a very difficult person, and of course, I mean, even people that are, my colleagues, acquaintance, friends, I treat very badly. I gossip about them, and and the result is that, these people naturally are going to withdraw from me. And this is the loneliness here is not related exactly to what you said, but before, but in the situation here, you know and it can be something like you don't even understand, because let's say that in a previous incarnation we were one of those people that would betray each and every one. Now I'm no longer doing that, but somehow people smell something and they are not inclined to become my friend. And so I may feel lonely. I cannot make friends, but this is a result. I mean, this is a possibility, okay? There can be many other things. Like we said before, people, in general, people that are more mature than spiritual, they will not find that much interest in us. And we will not find that much interest in them. We respect them, we respect their choices, we expect to be respected as well. But so it has nothing to do with the past. So there are many situations. Go ahead, you want to say something?
And we know when we make something bad with that people, like God, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
because in our conscience, inside our heart, usually we know when
Yeah,
it's our we are guilt for something wrong we made, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's go to the next one. Never consider yourself unfortunate. Misfortune, when permanent in rebellion, is the ignorance of divine justice. It is in the difficult injunctions that the spirit grows, because it frees itself from its accumulated problems that require resolution through the painful techniques of moral recovery. Ignorance is in its process of seducing defenseless victims, leads many creatures who are seemingly happy and in pain triumph by parading in pleasure. They display sometimes out of uncertainty the power of their silliness. They are not successful. Do not envy them. You have already traveled through similar erroneous path, and now you recommence in a different situation. So here, Joanna de Angelis saying, for whatever reason, you don't have any reason to consider yourself unfortunate. Because first, if you're going through difficulties or difficult injunctions, there is no one to blame but yourselves. We are the ones that have, paved our own way. But having said that, and understanding that difficult injunctions is the result or are the result of, um, misjudgment on our part, of, bad deeds, errors that we have committed in the past. Now, when I'm going through the consequences, I can analyze everything and say, you know what? I don't want this to happen to me anymore. And I understand that this is the consequence of what I did. So there is only one way out, which is change my ways. That's why she says it is a process of growing for the spirit. Um, because it will come to a point that we will have to find a solution. Let's say let's say that you have a sink at home that is, the water is dripping all the time, but it's not so bad. Okay, you go there and you squeeze a little bit more. It doesn't drip that much. It's not causing you more problems. You don't have to pay more because there is water dripping. The noise is, if you shut the door of the kitchen, so to say, you're not even going to be bothered by that noise. And I mean, we find way out without solving the situation. But the thing is there. And of course, like happens with all of those things, they need bending, right? Uh, each time more, it's going to aggravate. So before was just one drop per second. Now it's 5 drops. Now it's 10 drops. Now it's really a problem that you have to call someone to come and fix, that you have to act. So this is what she's saying to us here. Sometimes we postpone, amending ourselves because we can get by. But when something that bad happens to us, like, for instance, people that they know they have a tendency for, heart problems. But why am I going to bother that much? Everyone has problems with their heart at a certain point in life. Why am I going to go to a special diet or exercise or this or that? Until they have a heart attack and they go to the hospital and they require, thank God they don't die, but they require, it's a much more complicated situation. Then they come back from the hospital. No, now I'm going to change my life completely. So the thing what she's telling us here is, why do we have to wait for the heart attack? But when the heart attack comes, it is bad. It is a difficult injection, but hopefully I'm going to learn from my lesson. So this is why she's saying, even when it comes to this point, we cannot say that it's bad, because you are learning the lesson, you are spiritually growing, and you're going to come out of this better than you were before. uh, and she says here something that is very important as well, because sometimes, because we only analyze, the flatness, the horizontal line, people that are here, the material aspects of life. And so I look at myself and say, oh my God, my life is so hard, or, there's so much that I lack, so much that is happening. And then, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And then I look at the other and say, oh, those are happy people. They don't have this kind of worry. They have good jobs, they have money, they have health. And I mean, we start seeing all of this in other people and questioning. And then she says here, do not envy them, because many people there are seems very careless, just enjoying life. They still are going to be uh, trailing the same path that we are. So it is like she says, the happiness of, the result of their silliness, that is just related to the material aspect of life, and is very vain and is going to vanish. So she says, you have already traveled through similar erroneous path. Now that you are already in a different situation, don't go back. Don't feel that they have it all, they have it more. They will also have to go through the lessons that we are going now as a consequence of what we did. um, a question from Orlando: there is no pain or suffering in the spirit world, so can we blame the physical body for our suffering situation? That is not accurate, actually, Orlando. There is pain and suffering in the spirit world, as much as we have here. Maybe I'm not going to have a back pain or arthritis or something else, or even a headache, but I have the pain of the soul, of the spirit, which sometimes is so much worse than just physical pain. So I have the pain of the regrets. I have the pain of rebelliousness. I have the pain of bitterness. I have the pain of hatred, everything that is negative that I still foster within myself. So it's everything. It's all about the spirit, and the body is just a consequence. And many times, like when our spirit is worrying too much, and we have a headache, perhaps this is a way of our spirit saying, look at what you're doing to your physical body. Stop worrying that much, right? Okay. Any comments or question? So we have just one small paragraph here. In the speed in which you go through life, the organic manifestations will quickly free you from pains and oppressions, blessing the successes you attained and the testimony of difficult conjunctures. So here she's saying, whatever you're going through in life, remember that each incarnation is just a fleeting moment, considering the eternity. But although it is a fleeting moment, and we shouldn't pay that much attention to a momentary difficulty we're going through, it is a blessing because it helps us to this process of growing. That's why she's saying, you know, remember that it goes by very fast. And if you apply yourselves and you endure courageously what you have committed to go through in order to assure your present future happiness, just go for it. So this is um, what she's telling us, and she is pointing out, like sometimes, when we talk about the material aspects of life, in terms of talking about a soldier or something, we say that the scars from war is represents the medals of their courage and the battles they have fought. Or sometimes we women, that we always wanted to say something about, we don't like to get old, and but we have the wrinkles, and then we say, oh, those are the result, the wrinkles of a life well lived, of the so many smiles I gave, whatever, those things that you say. So this here, she's saying, all those difficulties, challenges that you go through and you endure bravely are going to represent, the medals, the spiritual medals that are going to promote you to a much better situation than the one you're having now. So we still have time for comments or questions. Yes.
Yes, this is a very short paragraph, but I believe it's really deep thought about, because why sometimes we stuck with the problems we're living, and you never think the consequence of the good behavior, or the when you raise a one challenge come true. It's like what we learn when you have like a success, and with our problems, then I think we can apply for many situations in our lives, daily life, then blessing the success you attain in the testimony of difficult conjunctures. Then I think we need to pay more attention about this. It's the small things in our daily life, and we have protection, and you can, if some problem happen in our life, I believe God sent us together the solution and the tools to solution to make a solution in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And we never pay attention about the solution and how blessing we are when you going through one problem. We always be stuck with the, oh, how poor we are to have problems.
Yeah.
Then I think we need to bless every time we have something to drive in our life, and how strong we are to make the solution. And it's a
That's right. That's right, Sonia. That's exactly right. And one thing that you said that I think it's very important, because sometimes, I mean, there is always the solution next to it. Maybe not in the sense of solving the problem completely, but at least in teaching us not to go through the same path again. But we many times we refuse to work with the tools that we have, and we insist on going through a path that is not going to give us satisfaction. So let's say I wanted to be a movie star, and so I'm going to, do whatever is necessary for me to become a movie star. But it's not happening. It's not happening, and I refuse to do something else, to get any other job. And I mean, life is telling me over and over again that this is not the path that is going to bring me happiness. But I refuse, and while I refuse, I'm going to be, continue being frustrated, and not providing from myself, and going through financial struggles because I don't want any other kind of job except this one, and all those things that we do and sabotage our own lives. And I mean, in this last paragraph is a very short one, a very difficult one, and she's saying something very simple and very difficult to hear in very beautiful words. Because basically she's saying, listen, your body doesn't last long. Your cells cannot endure more than a certain years of life. You are going to return to the spiritual world. So bless each and every opportunity that you are having now of returning with battles that you have fought and that you have won on behalf of the immortal spirit. This is what she's saying here. Because like I always say, when I'm sure that when we go back to the spirit world, we will say, oh my God, I used to complain so much about that, and now I see that was so irrelevant. I tormented myself because of a certain person or a certain job or a certain situation. And now I can see the value of all this, and the value is basically nothing or nothing. And at the same time, like I always say, even when we do the the utmost that we can do in terms of doing good deeds, I'm sure we will go back there and we'll say, you know what, there was room for more.
Yusara,
Yeah, that's right.
I find that all this. Joanna de Angelis, I must say, every time you cover a lesson, it's so, she is so beautiful. The way she explains everything is so clear. And I keep thinking that um, without understanding what we're learning, there is no way, I believe, that we would be able to accomplish more or less. I don't believe so, because first of all, we have to believe that we're here, we've come here, we've had many lives. We know that, right? And and that opens up a lot of doors, understanding that we have come here and incarnated, discarnated, come, go, we live, we die, we live, we die. And we understand that, as she's saying here, we have the opportunity now to work at our difficulties and understand that all this is for the good of ourselves. And when we go back to the spirit world, we we will get again instruction and a wake up of what we were doing. But it is so important to understand reincarnation, because we continue on. It's just not one life. We've had many lives. And so if we understand that and we have this opportunity to work in bettering ourselves, it makes it a little easier, I believe. I you know, so we suffer, we go through our challenges and take the advantage that we have now before it's we go back. So work at it. And this is what she continues telling us in so many ways. We're here for a while, we're going back. Take the opportunity now. Yes, we're going through changes, yes, we suffer, yes, but we're not alone. We are always being helped, we're always guided. And it makes it easier for us. That's all I'm saying. It's easier for us to understand what we're learning here and how we should go about it, and not be so afraid of what we're going through, because it's for the best, it's for the good, for us to elevate our lives, change our behaviors, study, and most important, prayer, like you said before. So all this combined leads us to this idea that it's okay. You know, we're here for a purpose. Move on. And yes, it's difficulty. Yes, we're going through. Look at the difficulties we're going through now with the pandemic. But there are reasons for everything. Action and reaction. You do, and then whatever you do, whether good or not so good, it's going to come back to us. So it makes it so easy for us to understand and move forward. So I'm saying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Gisara,
Yes.
I have a question. On Facebook, I'm trying to